Hello, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying Creator Week. And like Jim said, we're going to learn how to build a global creator brand. Now, these days, going global is super important within the content creation industry. Now, I would say most creators are already localizing their content in different languages. Some go even further by entering global platforms that are Chinese platforms like Bilibili, Xiaohongshu, and many more. And ultimately, everyone's trying to build a global creator brand. Now, Nick, who was just up here on stage, is definitely one of the pioneers that have opened and walked through that path. So without further ado, I am so happy to invite Pete and Zach from Nick's team to discover how we can build up a global creator brand. Please welcome Pete and Zach. All right, so guys, I'll get straight to the questions because we have so much stuff to talk about. I'll start with you, Zach. So how important would you say localizing content is for content creators these days?
I'd say it's very important. The stat that always is crazy to me is that maybe people know this, but America, where I'm from, has 300 million people as the population. Some other countries like India, I think, has like 1.5 billion people. China, I know, is over 1 billion. So if you're not really thinking global, like if I was to only think about the US, or if you're a creator only thinking about your home country, you'd really just be missing so much of the world that that's out there that you could be reaching if you thought about it.
Right. Oh, anything you want to add, Pete?
Yeah, I would just love to do a show of hands who loves food. I hope every hand's up, because if not, I don't know how you've made it this far. But I think that's sort of the central thesis here, which is we talk a lot about niches, but we're in the food niche, but really everyone loves and enjoys food. And so when you take that mentality to it, it's really like we're building content for the world, not for just food lovers, because that is the world. And so that's what's so exciting to us about globalizing content, is really the ability to reach worldwide.
That's awesome. And I would like to follow up on that, Pete. As you mentioned, food is such a universal language. It doesn't require translation. So when did you first start thinking that Nick's amazing content should be launched globally?
Yeah, I think we were lucky to be sort of raised in a very global-minded household. We have background of Italian descent, Iranian descent, German. And so we grew up even speaking and learning some of those languages. Even actually, we both took 6 years of Mandarin. Don't quiz me, because it's not going to be pretty. But
I was going to, though.
And so we realized sort of the potential of going abroad and living abroad, and what that opens up in terms of relationships. And that's really when we started. I mean, we're 5 years into this journey on the content side. Only about half that time has been with sort of a globalization mindset. And so we really wanted to take advantage of it. And once we launched initially with just even trying to target the Spanish market, we realized there was so much more potential. And that's when we got very interested in also coming here.
That's awesome. So in terms of localization, it could be perceived as a very simple term, but I know there's so much more to it. So Zach, how should creators actually localize their content? And what are some of the things that you think it's important for creators to consider when doing it?
I think that it's, whenever you're thinking about expanding, it's always so important to do your research first. The analogy that I thought of this morning was that in the US, we drive on the left side of the street, on the right side of the street. In Macau here, they're driving on the right side of the street. The way I think about it is that it's kind of similar. It's driving. It's not that different, but it's still a different custom. It's a different form that you're taking to do it. So in other words, I wouldn't feel comfortable just getting in a car in Macau right now and going to drive on the other side of the street. The same way that if I was a creator operating from the US, it wouldn't be very smart, in my opinion, to just rush into localizing in China or any new market. So I would say it's similar. It's not like you're reinventing the wheel in any way, but it's very important to do your research and see if it's something that you feel really comfortable doing before you actually take that first step and go out and do it.
All right. Anything you want to add, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say as it relates to food, there's so many ways this connects, right? So in some cultures, leaving a little bit of food on your plate is sort of seen as, you didn't really love it or it wasn't your favorite, whereas in others it actually shows that you're satisfied and you're full. And so when you change the perspective of how you look at something like that, I think it changes also the way you approach a different culture with that mindset of understanding that, if someone's eating loudly, maybe that actually means they're enjoying their food versus being rude, right? And so the different ways that you frame these things is very interesting to us, and we try and be mindful of that no matter where we're syndicating or growing our brand. And it's also it speaks to the importance of choosing the right partners, right? And that's why we're so grateful to have John, for example, at Adoba, or whether it's our partners at Human Voiceover that dub our content. It's like we don't speak all these languages. We can't review all the transcripts that go out to the world. And so as much as we'd love to, at a certain point, we have to trust that folks are taking those steps to localize the right way.
Yeah, awesome. And in all of Nick's videos, I do see a lot of food or culture from different regions or countries being represented. And I'm always so shocked and amazed that they're always very accurate. So in terms of that, I guess, ever since you've started localizing your content, can you tell me a bit about how your audience or your viewership has evolved with all of your efforts? Pete.
Yeah, so we're still primarily English-based and US-based, but the way I describe it to people is basically that is our baseline and growing baseline, and then all of this is really additive, right? So it's not like most of our US fans even know that we've extended into China or around the world, nor does it really change their viewing experience, to be honest. And that's just something that we've done in addition and beyond our tracks. And so, yeah, it's really an addition to our audience, I'm trying to say, versus a shifting. But we are seeing a lot of popularity in Spanish, for example. That was one of the initial ones that took off. Portuguese, French, and regions around, because obviously Spanish can mean Latin America. It can also mean Spain. So
yeah. So I assume a lot of efforts and consideration goes into localizing your content in not just one language, but multiple languages at the same time. So Zach, now this is a question that I've been dying to ask you. Please, can you give us a glimpse of what a day-to-day operation could look like for a top global content creator like Nick?
For Nick, so the thing that I always tell people is that every day is different, and I think sometimes people don't understand just how truly how different every single day can be. Kind of like if you guys just heard Nick talking, one day he could be feeding a lion, the next day he could be at home writing a script for his video. Every day is different. I think that's the beauty of YouTube, is that we get to do something that's so dynamic and changing and so wide-reaching in terms of what you can do. If I had to boil it down, though, to give you a direct answer, I would probably say it's a lot of to be at this high level. It's a ton of work. I think some people think being a content creator is like a lavish lifestyle where you're partying or traveling all the time and not doing anything. But the reality is you're actually probably working more than most CEOs of companies, because you're not just the CEO of your business. You're running your business all the time. If you're outside, on the street, if you're filming. So I would say Nick's often working in some way, whether it's filming, whether it's writing, reading emails or writing scripts, or even talking to his team. It's always different, but I'd say it's a lot of work and pretty nonstop.
I love it, and I'm simply amazed by all the variety of things that you're doing. You're one day competing with a robot to a cooking challenge, and then one day you're cooking with a rat. Those things were super fun. So Pete, I want to follow up on asking you about, so Nick DiGiovanni is more than just his YouTube channel. There's a lot of more brands into it. For example, Osmo or Happy Potato. You even have your own cookbook. So how would you say localizing your content in different languages has had an overall impact on your brands as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the way to approach this is to provide value first and to go with the localization before you introduce a product to the world. we try and create like a demand before we go there, so it's more of a pull effect. But Nick mentioned Osmo earlier. I'll actually touch on the cookbook. I think it's a good anecdote for this, is that we initially launched the cookbook 2 years ago, 2023. And we're lucky that it's done very well in the US and among English-speaking audiences. But just recently, actually, they reached out to us and had been getting, the publisher that is, had been getting a lot of requests from people around the world to translate the book. And so I was able to actually share our analytics with them and say, hey, these are the numbers around these different countries. And they took that to go and decide, you know, the number of copies that they're going to print and which languages to translate. And so that's now happening as we speak. And so it's really exciting for us that eventually Knife Drop is the name of the book. We'll see that in all these different languages. Maybe it'll be available here as well. But it's just it's an exciting new door that's open, and instead of going out and trying to plan and translate in advance a book that you're not sure how it's going to land or resonate, we can do the reverse, which is see that and answer, you know, what people want with the value of the book. So.
Wow, well, huge congrats on the launch. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully you're doing Korean as well.
Hopefully.
No spoilers, but.
All right, cool. Zach, so you're behind all the content that's being uploaded on the channel. So I would like to ask, does localizing content go beyond subtitling and dubbing in different languages? And I would also ask, you know, what about localizing thumbnails? Is there anything we should consider?
Yeah, the answer is it definitely goes beyond the titles and thumbnails and everything. I would say the more that we've gotten to know about globalization, the more we're realizing that the process starts from the very beginning. Like whereas maybe when we first started, we were just thinking about the titles and thumbnails. Now, whenever we're evaluating concepts of whether to greenlight them or reject them, we're only thinking about concepts that we know would work from a global audience. The example I give sometimes is like, if we were to make a video that's called "I ate food from New York City." That's like, it's a cool video, but it appeals to people who love New York, who are from New York, whatever. Then if you think bigger, like I ate food from every state in the US. That's still, it's appealing to people in the US, it's a bigger, cooler idea, but it's still pretty limited to people from the US. Like if you're from Korea, like John, you might not understand the nuances or have that much interest in the topic. So whenever we do something now, we try to think of how can it reach the widest audience possible so any viewer can feel some kind of enjoyment and excitement when they watch our videos.
Right, so I guess localization goes beyond just content.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. It's like, it's the scripts we write, like we try to use words and phrases that are pretty widely understood. It's the ideas that we pick, it's the visuals we show. Another thing we always say is that even when someone can't understand the language, like let's say our videos aren't dubbed in the language you speak yet, and we dub already in 15, 16 languages, everyone understands visuals and colors and stuff. So we're very intentional throughout the whole video and process to make sure it reaches as many people as we can.
That's awesome, that's awesome. Pete, in that context, I know Nick's constantly traveling all around the world to many different countries, including China, which I know you also were here with Nick studying the language for a while. In that sense, would you say physical presence contributes to reaching out to the global audience?
Yeah, definitely does, and we see that with the different content we post, sort of as Zach was saying, who it appeals to, and spikes from different regions. I also kind of look at it as like writing a thank you note to someone. I feel like that's sort of an art that's been a bit lost, but it's one of those simple things. It only takes a few minutes, but when you do it, someone really remembers and they really appreciate it. And I think that's the word that I think of here is like appreciation of the fans who see the content, and they can only feel so much part of the mission from afar, but when they see that you went and you not only went to their country and tried their food, but did the research behind it to understand some of the facts or stories and treated it with the respect that they would want you to, an overwhelmingly positive response.
That's awesome. Can you give us a glimpse of where you're traveling next? Or no spoilers?
Let's see. We got we have a few things coming. we're off to Shanghai after this conference, which is really exciting, and so we're going to get some good content there. And then we'll be back home to the U.S., but we have some other fun travel coming up. We'll be in Italy before end of year, which is nice as well, just back to the roots. So yeah.
Sounds awesome. Now, we only have a little under 5 minutes left, so I'll ask you each a question. So with Zach, I want to ask, which market in the world currently has your attention in terms of localizing content?
Interesting. It's so hard to pick because, like Pete said, everyone, when he asked that question, everyone around the world loves food. So it's we're lucky to do something that's so wide appealing to so many people. If I had to pick one market, honestly, I'd probably say China because I still think I have a lot to learn about the Chinese market. So, like Pete said, we're going to Shanghai later today, and I'm very excited to just kind of immerse myself for a few days and learn a lot from the locals about what people like over there because it's such a massive place that I feel like in the U.S. still, in a lot of ways in the U.S., I think it's a little bit underrepresented in terms of that culture and how you reach them.
Cool. So China. Pete, your question would be, what would be one advice that you would give to an up-and-coming creator who's looking to localize their content and trying to build up a global creator brand?
Good question. Yeah, this is not financial advice, but I say it's a bit like the stock market. Like the best time to invest was probably yesterday. Today is not a bad option either. So I would begin as soon as you can. I would make sure that you pick the right partners, and I would base that truly off of who you can trust. And then I would say plant those seeds and continue to water them and let them grow. I mean, it's a bit like starting a new channel, right? You're approaching an audience that has maybe seen you before, but in many cases likely doesn't know who you are. And so you're starting from ground zero, but the difference is this time you're starting with a fire starter, basically. So you have all the content that you've already made, you have the foundation, you have the understanding of how this world works, and you have an incredible opportunity to grow and build that. So it's I think it's one of the most overlooked and underinvested in things in this space right now. And even though it's been going on for a couple of years, I would bet pretty heavily that we're going to see a lot more of this in the coming years.
That's awesome. Zach, anything you want to add in terms of the content standpoint? What creators should keep?
Yeah, I would say it's always just so important to think bigger than yourself. I think, again, being from the US, for a lot of US creators, it's easy to just think about content for maybe your community or maybe it's your religion or your hometown or your state or something. But I think that if you want to have this like really big impact, I think you do need to think a lot bigger than yourself and your local community. Which is what we're trying to do with the help of you, John. But we're really trying to think global with everything we do. Again, whether it's the scripts or the visuals or the thumbnails or anything, we're trying to just think as big as possible and certainly much, much bigger than ourselves.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for this wonderful conversation. I think to sum everything up, it's really important for creators to go global, localize their content, all while taking a lot of things into consideration, like respecting the culture and the differences, and picking the right partners as well, so that you can trust all these other partners who speak the local language to be able to to share the vibe that your content expresses. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you so much. I think we've touched upon a lot of wonderful insights. So again, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.